Hi, I'm Riley,
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Ideal Podcast.
where we talk about the ideal and not so ideal moments going from girlhood to womanhood. Welcome back.
Hey guys.
Katie and I are on opposite ends of the country, but we're on Zoom. She's on my computer over here.
This is so odd. I don't know how to act. I feel like I'm learning how to walk for the first time again, you know?
I know.
So clearly, we are not together. This is our first kind of trial run, doing this whole thing remote. I don't know how else you'd call it. And yeah, so today we just wanted to catch up with you guys because today is the end of an era. That was for clickbait.
It is. I mean, it kind of is an end of an era because we don't live together anymore. Wah, wah, wah.
We're gonna stick to tradition, and for everyone who's been watching us for a while, first things first, drink rating. And today, actually, we are coordinating because we both have Poppy.
Oh, nice. I've actually had your flavor before.
I haven't. So I was like, this is perfect because you'll get my actual reaction.
Today I have Poppy's Dog Pop flavor. I don't remember if we have done this one before. It's a classic. It's good. The first time I had it was this past semester. And at first I was a little bit skeptical because I'm not a huge soda flavor person. But now I'm obsessed. So we're going to give it a try. If you're not putting your Dog Pops in ice, then you are severely missing out. Honestly, any healthy soda or anything, if you're not putting it in ice, you're missing out. Flavor 9, fizz 8.
My flavor is cherry limeade. Riley's tried it before. I haven't. Is this supposed to be a Dr. Pepper?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well then I'm scared.
It tastes very cherry, but I think you might like it.
Okay, let's give it a try. Oh. I like it.
Nice. I haven't had that one in a long time.
Yeah, I might be like getting this more than once. Like I might buy this again. Fizz is not good. Fizz is a 6, Riley. Fizz sucks.
Oh.
But flavor is a good 7.5.
So today we will be catching up on what we've been doing, recapping graduation that happened recently, our moving out experience, and just discussing ways to overcome the obstacles that come with moving on in different areas.
Graduation was a little over 2 weeks ago. That was almost like an out-of-body experience for me. I wasn't mentally there. I genuinely was like, what is going on? Because this is a moment that you dream of your whole life, and then literally you blink and you're sitting there in that chair surrounded by people wearing caps and gowns, and then they call your name up and you walk, and it's just surreal. It was crazy. Tell me about your point of view, Riley.
I never thought that I would be so emotional at a graduation because my brother took a gap semester, and so he walked with Katie on stage. And so I'm seeing like two incredibly close people in my life walk and graduate, and it just felt like this extremely proud mom moment. And anytime anyone would try to talk to me about it, I'm like, I can't talk about it because I just would get so emotional. I'm like, I'm so proud of them, I love them, but don't leave,
Yeah, no, definitely. It was like very bittersweet. I feel like I wasn't very emotional at all that entire week because I'm this type of person who doesn't understand what's going on until like a month after.
You should be the blonde one, not me.
Literally. I think the only time I teared up was when we first got to our seats and they said a prayer and like Kaden hugged me and I was like,
Aw.
man, this is feeling like this like I shouldn't be getting emotional. No.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then other than that, I didn't really cry. When I saw my parents, that's when I was like, okay, hold it together.
Mhm.
The second that I got on stage, because like when you're sitting there, you're kind of hearing how everyone's cheering for everyone, and I was like, oh, I wonder who's gonna cheer for me. I did not hear a single thing. It was silence in my ears as I'm walking.
I'm shocked that you didn't hear anything because I yelled at the top of my lungs, and then Alex next to me was yelling at the top of her lungs, and then I heard my dad start to chime in too. So our whole section kind of started to cheer for you after I kind of got the ball rolling. So I screamed so
Yeah.
loud.
And you were also fairly close to the stage. So
Mm-hmm.
I think because I was just so in awe of the moment, I didn't hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were saying they were screaming too. I was like, I did not hear you. Yeah, that's kind of how the graduation went. And then literally the next day, we had to do one of the hardest things ever. Saying goodbye sucked. When you found your person and like also we don't live near each other. I am not a public crier. I only cry in front of maybe 2 people. And that whole weekend, like I said, no emotion, no tears. I've had a few moments like in private, but other than that, I was like fine. I was focused. I was like graduating or finals, graduating, packing, leaving. And then the day after graduation, as I'm packing, I'm kind of very like in the zone, like, oh, I have to do this, this, this. And then like once we packed up the car and I like realized that this is literally my last 5 minutes with you, tears. And like, so we literally stood there hugging each other, bawling our eyes out with 10 people around, like 10 plus people around us.
Luckily, they were also crying and emotional, so they weren't just like.
Yeah, they weren't just like, oh, this is awkward. They were like, ah.
I'm such an emotional person. I'm so sappy, anyways, that it was just building up. Like I probably cried at least once a day, like that week leading up to it because I knew it was coming. After I had breakfast with my family and you guys were packing and still working a little bit, I had to tell myself, Riley, they're not leaving yet. You cannot sit there and cry. So I had to like focus and be fine. And then it genuinely felt like a breakup when you left because it was
Yes.
like we're going from 24/7 to literally nothing. And it was so hard. And it was just not fun saying goodbye. It was
No,
terrible.
that was one of the worst days of my life. It just sucks cuz things will never be the same. I think that's the reality of moving out of college and like graduating and having to leave behind the life that you had, which I will get into later.
And it was also just slightly awkward because at least like you got to go in your car and like have your moment. I was just standing there with everybody. I was like, I'm gonna go pack. I did not go pack. I probably cried for 10 minutes and had my little moment. And then
Yeah,
started
I was
packing.
telling you how the second that I got in the car, our windows were down and I was just staring out the window as the wind blew through my hair and just tears were coming down. And I was like, this feels like a movie. Where are the cameras?
If our families were reversed, where it was like my family there and I was leaving, my dad would have had his phone in our faces filming.
Which I kind of wish someone did record it because I feel like that's such a cute thing to look back on.
Yeah, it was very sweet. Your parents were so nice, and it made the tears come more, and it was just sweet.
Yeah. Anyways, fast forward to now. I am in Sacramento. Riley is in Chattanooga, and we just want to update you guys on what's been going on and just kind of have like a FaceTime conversation type of thing?
Yeah, so basically everything I've been doing is looking for doctors and physician assistants and practices where I can go and shadow and kind of start to build those hours. I'm looking into getting my medical assistant license to get more patient care hours that are more direct, and then that's kind of just leading up to applying for a PA school. So that's what I've been doing, and it's hard when, especially businesses and people, don't respond to you. And I'm just kind of trying
Mm-hmm.
to remember that, you know, I'm trusting the process. There's a plan and it'll work out the way it's supposed to. And I feel like my journey has been so unconventional and atypical that I'm just trying to go with the flow.
Yeah. Can 100% relate. I feel like I'm just very confused as to what's going on right now. You know, it's like I should be resting cuz that's what I told myself I should be doing, but also I'm like freaking out because I'm like I need a job, and I had a job offer, but when I really thought about it, it just didn't feel right for me, and it didn't feel like it was
Mm-hmm.
worth my time.
Yeah.
Even though the opportunity was great, it was just there are some things about it that I was like, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. But yeah, because what we do school for 12 years and then 4 extra years in college. So there's 16 years of consistency, you know? Every summer, I knew, oh, in 3 months, I'll be going back to school. Like, that's the plan. And then when you graduate and you know that's over, you're kind of in this weird moment where you're like, I don't have anything planned, you know? And that's slightly uncomfortable, but also
Mm-hmm.
there's an exciting aspect to it. And during this season, after graduation, I've gotten a lot of opinions, a lot of advice, and I'm trying to find a good balance of what do I accept and what do I do kind of on my own, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
one thing that I keep telling myself is that in this season, God is the ultimate author of my life. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's so easy to kind of be like, oh, well, this person did it this way, let me do it too. I feel like I really have to stop myself and be like, okay, just because they did it that way doesn't mean that you have to follow in their footsteps. And no matter how much advice I get, I need to do life my way in the way that I feel I'm called to do it. And also, I've just, like, with all this free time, I have a lot of time to reflect. And I had this, like, realization that I was putting my identity into the things that I did. So, like, for the longest time, being a
Mm.
college student was my identity, you know? And now that
Yeah.
I don't have that, it's like, who am I, you know? And I'm actually reading this book that I did a identity podcast. Remember when I did a solo
Mm-hmm.
podcast? I feel
Yeah.
like I need to do a part 2 because I'm literally reading a book right now, and the author talks about identity and how who we are is not what we do, but who we are determines what we do, if that makes
I love
sense.
that.
I don't know, just a lot of like processes that I'm going through, and it's good because I didn't have time for this when I was in school, and now I can really think through and understand what I'm feeling, what I'm believing, um, and yeah, just kind of really understand like, okay, who am I? Who do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And what do I want to do with my life now that college is behind me?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of just a multi faceted topic because you have to try to be in the present and rest after all of that work that you've done, and at the same time try not to worry too much about essentially resting and not doing anything. And you just kind of have to trust that the right door will open when it's supposed to, and I think you'll know when that happens.
Yeah. And the thing is, everything in my life in the past has happened this way, where a certain door, like even Pepperdine, I applied straight out of high school, got waitlisted, and that was honestly one of the best things that's ever happened to me because I was not ready to leave home just yet. But then once again, the door opened 2 years later, So it was just one of those things where the door opens at the right time. And it's like,
Yeah.
obviously, it sucks to just be in this waiting process and like just trusting, sitting there and hoping that it works out, but it always does. Excuse me.
I thought about this today too, thinking about this episode. I am like, I'm grateful for the fact that you moved out before me and we had to go through that kind of heartbreak because if I had gone to school earlier or you had gone to school later and we happened to be in the same class, we wouldn't know each other and we wouldn't have had any of this. So it's a blessing that you graduated before me. And like you said, like doors open at different times for specific reasons. And I think one of those reasons is because of you and me. And so,
Yes, 100%. Which, I mean, this kind of goes into our next kind of thing. We wanted to kind of reflect on the last 2 years that we had together.
I
And
cannot believe we spent 2 years together. That felt like
I know,
nothing. Absolutely
yeah,
nothing.
if I got nothing out of college, I got this. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
building this friendship was one of the best things that's ever happened to me, especially with the timing, too. I went through a very difficult friendship breakup literally at the beginning of my time at Pepperdine.
Mm.
And that was when you and I just started getting closer. And so it was literally like perfect timing where through a moment that felt so painful and difficult, literally the biggest gift was brought into my life. So it truly was like the best timing ever. And kind of along those same lines, I think creating our podcast was one of the best decisions ever. It's crazy how much growth I have seen in myself through this podcast. I've seen so much confidence in myself through this podcast. I think it's always scary to get in front of a camera and know that you're putting something out there that anyone can watch and pick apart and criticize and whatever it is.
Should we tell them
But
about our second official hate comment?
yes, oh my gosh.
It was one of those stupid accounts that's like user 7421309, like some
Yeah.
stupid
Yeah.
non-existent account.
What did he say?
I think they said find a new day job, lol. Fun fact, we don't make money off of this. We just do it for fun.
Yeah,
But we
but
also got a cool comment on that same video.
yeah, a little bit of both. Anyways, let me wrap my point up. The fact that I can see growth in myself through this project that you and I have created makes it all worth it, because even if we don't get instant reaction or if we don't see this huge growth, I think the fact that I can see growth in myself is already very satisfying, and I don't know, makes me feel really good about what we did.
I can say kind of the same for myself too. Looking back at our first episode versus now,
Yeah.
it's like two completely different people. And to see that and have it documented is really cool. Okay, some other things that we learned from living together. We sort of had this kind of these unspoken rules where if someone had more free time than the other person, they noticed that the trash was full, they would just do it. And same with like cleaning the counters in the bathroom or, washing the mats or whatever it is. And I think we just communicate so well. And I mean, we can be confrontational, but we didn't have to do it that often because we were just accountable and
Mhm.
respectful of each other's space and time. And I don't know, I guess just not lazy either. Like we would just do it if, we thought it needed to be done, and we could do it, in a more timely manner than the other person if they were doing something. So I
Mhm.
think we just worked well together as roommates.
Yeah. That kind of falls into my second point, and it's that I initially did not want to share a room.
But I pushed you a little on that one.
Yeah, you did. It definitely was a scary change for me because I was always the type of person who needs their own space, and I was worried about how that would look like when you have to share a room. And our first year at Pepperdine, we had our own room, so I thought that was like the best thing ever. Fast forward to our second year, oh my gosh. It makes me so sad that I had my own room my first year.
I know, me too. I don't know how I did that and wasn't like lonely every single day. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I was a little bit, but
No, the thing is, I think I was very lonely, and I think I was a lot more emotional and just mentally unwell because I would always just lock myself in my room and kind of think, like, oh, I'm gonna deal with this. But when you
mhm.
share a room with someone, you're kind of forced to either like snap out of it or like spill, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Because whenever I was like where everything was piling up that one week for me and I was just having a bad morning, and I because I'm having a bad day when I'm taking a shower before the evening.
I know, I was like, she got in the shower. She's not talking. What is going on?
And you were like, "What's going on? Like, are you okay?" And I was like,
And then we
"Oh
watched
my
One Tree
gosh."
Hill and everything became better and ate some ice
Mhm.
cream.
That is so true. And it's kind of nice because it keeps yourself accountable with your emotions in a sense of where you can't bury it. Like you absolutely have to do something about it, or you're
Mm-hmm.
forced to do something about it because it just doesn't work like that when you live with
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah, because I think like this even falls into when you get married and you live with someone. I feel like if you're holding everything in, you think that it's better, because it's like, oh, I'm keeping my mess away from the person that I'm living with. But in reality, that other person can feel it, and you're going to make the situation so much better if you open up. And hopefully you're living with someone who you trust. But if you're living with someone who you truly trust, taking that step to open up and kind of share, like, hey, this is actually what's going on in my head or in my life, it's going to make you feel better and make the other person feel like you trust them, and you care enough to share that part of your life. So I literally have no bad thing to say about the past 2 years of us living together. I think it was the best thing that's ever happened to us.
Yeah, same. And I think we even grew as roommates, and I think in our friendship as well, starting from like August this past year to May, because we're both in long distance relationships and we kind of had to figure out like our talking routine and
Mm-hmm.
different things like that. And I think again, like unspokenly just navigated that well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we respected each other's time, and because we're so close, like we could like not feel like we had to just, I don't know, like feel weird about talking
Mm-hmm.
to whoever it was.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it truly feels like it was like orchestrated, because the fact that both you and I were in long distance relationships helped us so much. Because if one of us was not in a relationship or was dating someone at school, I feel like that would be tough.
Because we were both going through similar things, and it just helped a ton to share that together and not feel alone in that struggle. And so it also, just our experience showed me that I really don't want to live alone ever. It's so much more fun having someone to do stuff with and just even to yap all the time for no
Mm-hmm.
reason. Like I told you, I'm going to have to get used to like being okay being more quiet, or I'll just record myself and send it to you whenever I have random thoughts.
Literally, it was honestly like the best. One of my favorite moments was when we turn the lights off and we're already like trying to fall asleep, and then like one of us just starts talking, and we end up cracking up and like probably waking up the whole house even though they weren't sleeping yet, but like we would crack up so hard. Obviously, now we are in a long distance friendship. We always laugh about this because I feel like we're destined for long distance relationships. And so there are a few things that we are implementing and will implement into kind of this new journey that we're navigating. And one of those things is obviously our podcast. Like, this is kind of the source. I don't even know how else to explain it, but it's something that even though we want to communicate and keep up with each other's lives, it's forcing us to do things like this. And then keeping up with shows together, we have Teen Wolf, a new season of The Kardashians, The Golden Bachelorette. I'm actually so excited for that.
So planning for big events, like we text a lot about, you know, wedding inspo and engagement pictures and birthday stuff. And like Katie, I think, sent me a gorgeous vase off of Pinterest. And I was like, I need that. And so just like sending random stuff like that. And I think planning kind of makes you feel more connected. And then sending random updates and pictures. I sent her this random picture of me after I had like gowned up for a surgery that I was observing. So I had like the hair thing, I had the mask, I had the like hazmat suit looking thing on, and yeah, just fun stuff like that I think is fun and cute.
Yeah. I think it's just so special that we get to support each other through despite the distance. But yeah, this is our little update. It's almost like you guys joined in on our little conversation together, which was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. We'll definitely have to do more like updates, and we'll probably maybe do a summer recap or something, even though all I'm going to be doing is working.
Make the same. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.